The biggest lie on a school map is not that a country is the wrong size, it is not that Greenland looks enormous, or that Antarctica stretches like a white curtain across the bottom of the page. The biggest lie may be something much more basic, the idea that continents are obvious. Ask a room full of people how many continents there are, and many will answer instantly 7. Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. It feels like one of those facts you learn so early that it becomes part of the furniture of your mind, like the number of days in a week. But here is the strange part. That answer is not universal. In different schools, countries, and scientific fields, people use different models. Some learn 6 continents, some learn 5. Some arguments can reduce the map to 4 giant landmasses, and geologists may even bring up a mostly submerged continent that many classroom maps ignore. So what is going on? Did someone get it wrong? Not exactly. The real problem is that a continent is not as simple as it looks. At first, the definition sounds easy. A continent is usually described as a very large continuous area of land, conventionally treated as a major region of the world. That word conventionally is doing a lot of work. It means a continent is not just a physical object like a mountain or an island. It is also a category humans have agreed to use. Once you notice that, the neat school map starts to wobble. Take Europe and Asia. On most classroom maps, they are separate continents. They have different colors, different labels, and often different lessons in the textbook. But if you were looking at Earth from space and focusing only on land, you would not see an ocean dividing them. Europe and Asia are part of one enormous connected landmass, Eurasia. There are boundaries we often use: the Ural Mountains, the Ural River, the Caspian Sea, the Caucasus region, the Black Sea, and the Turkish Straits. But those are not the same kind of boundary as the Atlantic Ocean between Africa and South America. They are a mix of mountains, rivers, seas, and historical choices. Move the line slightly north or south, and the planet does not suddenly change. Europe is one of the best examples of how culture and history shape geography. Europe is a real region with deep historical importance, but its status as a separate continent is not purely about physical separation. It is also about the way people have understood identity, power, civilization, trade, religion, empire, and education over time. That does not make Europe fake. It makes the word continent more complicated than it first appears. Now look at the Americas. In the 7-continent model, North America and South America are separate. That makes sense in many ways. They have different shapes, ecosystems, histories, and they meet at a narrow connection in Central America. But they are still connected by land. Before the Panama Canal was built, you could walk, at least in theory, from Alaska to Patagonia without crossing an ocean. So why split them into 2 continents, while Europe and Asia, which are connected much more broadly, are often split for different reasons? The answer is not that one model is stupid and another is correct. The answer is that the rules are not perfectly consistent. In many Spanish-speaking and some other educational traditions, America is taught as one continent. In that model, there is one America, not North America and South America. The Olympic symbol is often explained as representing the union of 5 inhabited parts of the world: Africa, the Americas, Asia, Europe, and Oceania. That does not match the 7-continent list many people learn in school, and yet it is not random. It reflects a different convention. So already we have at least 2 common ways to count: 7 continents if Europe and Asia are separate, and the Americas are split in 2, 6 continents if the Americas are 1, and another 6-continent model if Europe and Asia are combined as Eurasia, but North and South America remain separate. Then there is the 5-continent idea. If you combine the Americas into one and focus on permanently inhabited continents, Antarctica is often left out in some systems. Antarctica is absolutely a continent in the physical sense. It is huge, it is land under all that ice, and it matters enormously for Earth's climate. But it has no native permanent human population in the way Europe, Africa, Asia, America, and Oceania do. Scientists live there temporarily in research stations, not as ordinary cities and villages. That is another clue. Sometimes people are not counting land masses, They are counting human regions. Now push the physical logic further. If a continent is a giant continuous landmass, then Europe, Asia, and Africa can be grouped together as Afro-Eurasia. Africa is connected to Asia through the Sinai region, even though the Suez Canal now cuts an artificial waterway between the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. The canal is historically and economically massive, but it does not erase the underlying land connection. Under a strict big connected land approach, Earth's major land masses become something like Afro-Eurasia, the Americas, Antarctica, and Australia. That gives you 4. It feels shocking only because we are used to a map that has already taught us where to draw the lines. But even that version has problems. What about islands? Is Greenland part of North America? Most systems say yes, even though it is not physically connected to the mainland. What about Japan? It is usually included with Asia. Madagascar is usually grouped with Africa. New Zealand is usually placed in Oceania. Suddenly, a continent is not just one piece of continuous land. It can include nearby islands, continental shelves, cultural ties, political groupings, and historical habits. Australia creates another confusion. Some people say Australia is the continent. Others say Oceania, a broader region that includes Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and many Pacific islands. Australia is both a country and a landmass, while Oceania is more of a geographic region. If you are talking about exposed land, Australia makes sense. If you are talking about a world region of peoples, islands, and cultures across the Pacific, Oceania makes more sense. And then comes one of the strangest twists, Zealandia. Zealandia, also known by the Maori name Te Riua Maui, is a large area of continental crust in the southwest Pacific. Most of it is underwater. New Zealand and New Caledonia are among the parts above sea level. In 2017, geologists made a detailed case that Zealandia meets the geological criteria for a continent, even though around 94% is submerged. This does not mean every school map suddenly has to show 8 continents in the same way it shows Africa or Europe. But it does show something important. The geological idea of a continent is not always the same as the everyday school idea. Geologists care about crust type, elevation relative to surrounding ocean floor, distinct geology, and well-defined boundaries. A classroom map usually cares about teachable world regions. That difference matters. A political map divides the world into countries. A physical map shows mountains, rivers, oceans, and deserts. A tectonic map shows plates that do not line up perfectly with continents at all. Earth does not organize itself for textbook convenience. So why do schools teach a simple number? Because simple models are useful. They give students a starting point. The 7-continent model is not worthless. It helps organize enormous amounts of information. It makes the world easier to learn. The problem begins when the simplified model is treated as the final truth. Maps always simplify. A flat map cannot show a round planet without distortion. Borders make countries look cleaner than they are. Lines between regions make gradual transitions look sharp. A school map is not a photograph of reality. It is a tool for thinking, and every tool leaves something out. That is why the question, how many continents are there, is more interesting than it sounds. The safest answer is, it depends on the model. In the most common English language school model, there are 7: Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. In another common model, there are 6 because Europe and Asia become Eurasia. In another, there are 6 because North and South America become one America. In some traditional or symbolic uses, there are 5 inhabited continents. If you focus only on the largest connected landmasses, you can argue for 4. And if you switch to geology, Zealandia enters the conversation. So the real lesson is not that your teacher lied. It is that the map was never the territory. The map was a decision. It was a way to divide a messy, connected planet into pieces small enough for us to name. Continents feel natural because we grew up seeing them outlined and colored. But many of those outlines are the result of history, language, culture, science, and convenience all layered on top of one another. The Earth itself is not labeled. It does not care where one continent ends and another begins. Maybe the most honest answer to the question is this: we do not simply discover continents, we define them. And once you understand that, the world map stops looking like a set of obvious facts and starts looking like what it really is, one of humanity's most powerful stories about the planet we live on.
Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. See you in the next one!